Right, let's get into some Q&A. How did the universe get so dark 87%? Has this percentage decreased? Yes, it has. That's why you're all still here. The theory is, and it's looking more like fact, is this source here was a bit naive, and it was created a light-only universe. There is dark-only universe, but this was created as a light one. And so the occupants of that universe were unable to perceive dark, and it proliferated like a virus, which is known as the fractal virus, and it kept escalating and escalating, and it was only when it reached a point of no return that they recognised it was a major problem. Now, as I understand it, back then, many, many years ago, they were talking about pulling this whole universe, destroying it. And the reason being is this universe is connected to a universal tree, and this is one branch of it. So if you get infection in one branch, it affects the whole tree. And some thought this universe could be rescued. Those people went against Council's decision, as I understand it, and were correct to do so, as it turns out, because the dark percentage has gone right down. We're not that far off balance now, which is nearer the 45-55. There's still some dark to clear up, but the real dark has been dealt with. Is all of AI gone? No. The main AI system, the psychotic one, is gone, but there's many versions of AI, but not a planetary version 1, as I understand it. Where are we next? Can an AI system be used for good? Well, yeah, it depends on the programmer. But my belief is, once the people and beings on and in this planet have reached a certain level of vibration and frequency, and also recognised who and what they are and what they're capable of, the idea of needing a machine to run this planet will seem absurd. I'm not in favour of it. It does have beneficial effects, but the danger is who controls it. And given there was far more dark than light, the chances are it was always going to be controlled by the dark. But ultimately, a bit like the money system, we can progress to a certain level where we don't require money to live and exist, and we can also progress to a level where we do not require AI either. And despite what some of the clowns in the alt media and otherwise in the scientific community tell you, they cannot be sentient. They don't have our, no matter how big they make it, they don't have our own compatible, their systems are not compatible to our own computer system called our brain. No matter how much they tell you, it's BS. Right, that was a couple of more. Let me see. I'm going through the 43 questions emails and see if I can answer a couple of more. Maybe not. Let's go on to some more. America's become the prison capital of the world. We, as you know, incarcerate more people per capita than any other country. and most are victimless crimes, which is correct. Under common law, natural law, those people wouldn't be in there. People who take drugs, unless they've committed a crime against somebody else, they are just smoking it themselves and they haven't stolen it off anybody, then that's their own fault, but they certainly shouldn't be in prison for it. And the questioner says, it's my belief they are doing this because of the criminal courts are all based on trust law, and this needs to stop. No, they're doing it because it's a collection agency. All courts operating under bar are not there for justice. They're a collection agency, and the judges are only, they get a proportion of the fines, and everyone gets the little piece out of it, including lawyers. And that's why they're fighting tooth and nail to stop natural and common law, because suddenly thousands of so-called crimes would disappear. That's what they're doing. It's a collection agency. Do you have any new intel now that America is sovereign? We're not sovereign yet. That has to go through due process. There are conditions where it can be dealt with automatically, but it appears at this moment they're not willing to do that, or reluctant, shall I say. But we'll see. And maybe this will change our policy of putting people in prison in a way to generate commerce. Yes, it would. Sovereignty means we don't need, we will actually be free of the Rothschilds-led crown and the bar. Was watching a show, and the topic was shadow people, devils and demons. The Pope now recognises exorcism. So based on the truth that we are aware, what is the true role of a priest in exorcism? Essentially, if you have that ability to remove the non-corporeal form, jinns, that's essentially what they are. You can call them devils and demons, but the real term is jinns. You extract them if you have that ability to do so. Sadly, there's not enough people around the world able to do that, and there's many billions of people who have attachments with jinns. We would like more people removing them. Of course, if people develop their own skills, people often say, what can I do? Well, develop that skill. Remove these jinns and shadow beings from people. But beware, it takes a lot of energy out of you. A lot of energy. And you must also prevent it transferring from the victim to the healer as well. So you have to be very careful. What is the plan for California? At the moment, it's to tip everyone who are not elite out of it. That's been ongoing for 5 years now. The governor and the people working in the Capitol building are so corrupt, absolutely. They make big talks and big lies. Yeah, and unfortunately the people in California fall for it, which is why they voted in Pelosi and Feinstein of all people. And you're right in saying they really don't care about the citizens. Not many politicians do. That's the nature of the beast. They pass bills behind closed doors without citizens' vote or approval, and they only care about their pockets, and they lie a lot, absolutely. taxpayers in California need help from these liars. They need to be investigated. Well, the people of California need to get together and throw the lot of them out. It's that simple. You know, you had your opportunity in the midterm elections. California voted in Pelosi. Really. A 78-year-old complete insanity woman. Is there anything she ever says coherent or make any sense? And yet the people voted for her. And Feinstein. And before that, Arnold Schwarzenegger. What use is he? The people have to get together. Of course, we've got members in California, some of which who are operating on a local level, which we covered in a show just before Christmas, who are fighting back, but they're still talking about the same people voting in Democrats. Trump's not a Republican, just in case you think I'm Republican, because I'm neither. To make that clear, we should have no parties and people doing a job they're paid to do, which is look after and for we the people. Not parties, not left, right and all that nonsense rhetoric, and liberal or conservative. It's all drivel. Are you able to look after the American people, for and by them? That's it. No labels, no nothing. I wonder, relative to the drain of America's tax revenue having been stopped and recovered by the trust, might the trust permit President Trump to offer American taxpayers 100% 2018 tax holiday for the 2019 season? Well, the bill's already in, and due process has started where there'll be a permanent tax holiday. But the IRS and those clowns know we're onto them now. The idea would be to offer a 100% refund to all individual 2018 taxpayers who had payroll withholdings. And you might decide to include self-employed individuals who are required to make estimated tax payments and permit the taxpayer to choose a simplified get it all back claim option or normal filing option. That won't be implemented this year. It may be something that will be considered next year. We'll see how quickly that bill passes through or what stumbling blocks come up. But just to make it clear, the trust doesn't have all the tax revenue money. What we did is the money that was funneled out of the IRS to the Rothschilds Bank in Switzerland last year, the trust swiped that money. It's the only one capable, so it's locked in the trust now. But the tax revenues for this year will still be going to the IRS unless they funnel that money out to Rothschild's banks again. And then the trust will step in again and take it back again. But we don't have the actual tax revenues. The media keeps talking about the cost of government closures, but I wonder if the so-called costs are not actually savings that could be shared with the people if a way to do it could be figured out. Well, essentially that's what's taking place in some aspects. You know, the government is massively over-bloated, and one thing you can do is observe who is useful and who is not during a government shutdown. Has anyone other than the people who have been furloughed been impacted? If we weren't told by the media or Trump that the government shut down, would we know any different? Not particularly. And, you know, there's lots of things being processed and due diligence being done on a variety of things to do with the government and its wider field, and maybe we'll see what happens with that. Is practicing Reiki safe? I'm not too sure that the symbols are part of the old program and it's a genuine healing modality. I've done a few courses, 1 and 2. Does it contribute to loosh, and how do I protect the space? Well, anything that involves healing, there's a cause and effect. You know, if you're pulling out negative energies or negative thought forms out of a patient as such, then you have to protect yourself in a way that's not being, it's like the exorcism, it's not being transferred back into you. So you have to have a lot of awareness of your own field to be able to do that. Otherwise you're getting yourself into an awful lot of trouble. And this is what's happened to a number of these so-called shamans, is they're thinking they can do this, that and the other based on a book. You don't do that by a book. You either are in control of your PSI field or you're not. If you don't know what it means you don't have the knowledge. And you essentially are, like I say, you are either pulling negative frequencies out or pulling entities out. And so by doing that, you have to make sure that you're releasing them into the ether and not into the vessel, your vessel. And this is why these people have to be a lot more careful, because in essence you're transmuting and sending your energy field to clear that entity, which then goes into the host. And this is why you can't be doing this like 9 to 5, day after day, day after day. You have to rebuild up your own energy, otherwise you'll spend it all and you will die. You can't do healing 24 hours a day. You can't do it 8 hours a day either. It literally drains your energy. And so the people who practice this, and if they're genuinely healing people, would know this. If they're not, then they're not really fulfilling what they said they're doing. So yes, it can be safe, but the people who are doing it have to have a lot more knowledge than is contained in a book, in my opinion. I'm on disability, and I barely make it from 1 month to the next with what the government gives me. And my question is, will Social Security amounts change anytime soon? Well, I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, that they have just received an increase. It's probably not enough, we know that. I would suggest, because the tax reform's been looked at and a few other things have been looked at, maybe there's a possibility that the Social Security Fund will be looked at also at a future date. I'm not promising it, but given the Social Security funding comes out of the trust and always has done, maybe we really need to look into why this Social Security Fund that the people are paying out of their wages really exists. In my opinion, like the national security in the EU, it's another slush fund. So maybe in the future, when time allows, Trump may ask the team to look at that as well. What's your take on the Brundtland report? I have not read it, I'm sorry. Since it came from the UN's environmental community, do you think that they should oppose it? I'll have to have a look at it. Maybe I can answer that question better next week. How is the recently signed Global Peace Treaty handling those not in compliance? They, like Marduk, are being removed. Now, where people get mixed up is they think because Pelosi's cabal or Kissinger or Bush's cabal that the UPU or the council should be removing them people. That's not how it works. You know, it's other species against humans, not human versus human problem. Now, it has been addressed to the council that the problem with the clowns should be looked at in a different light, given whilst it's a human versus human problem, the problem is these global elites are running an off-world program, in my opinion. And I have asked 3 times for them to look at that and maybe address it and provide some help. So it's, you know, us fighting against politicians or us fighting against the military or Langley or whatever is a human-to-human issue that we have to overcome and resolve. Otherwise, we end up being parented again, and we've had enough of that nonsense. And we have made giant strides, there's no question of that. When will the 99% be brought up to speed on this treaty? I have no idea. And who all signed it, for bloody sake? I don't know why that was worded that way. The ones that signed it are the ancestors of the ones who originally signed it. So all the tribal people that were around then and their ancestors now signed off on it, along with some others in the trust team. Are you thinking to make a film about the chart to explain it? We were hoping to do a show and explain the chart being the global martial law complete control structure that Randy put out and did a little piece on this week. And so we're hoping to do a video with Kim and I where people can actually see the chart. There's only one, that's the only one that's available. And then we can go through the various sections of what it is. Me personally, I want to focus on the bottom 25% because that's essentially even the most knowledgeable researchers has gone that high. The other 75% people have no idea, apart from regular THI listeners. Will the chart be made public? It did. We post pictures of it. I admit it's not clear, but it's not easy. That piece of paper is around 5 to 6 foot and about 2.5 foot wide. So it's not easy to zoom in on and get the whole document. We wanted to show the whole document. But at a later date we may take pictures of sections of it and stitch it together so people may have a chance to see the finer details. Is it available? No. Kim's got the only copy, and I had the chance to study it for a while late last year, and we completed the who's who on it between Kim and I, and also Shane. Are there still 20 and back programs going on? There was no 20 and back programs going on originally. That's BS, I'm sorry. All of it. Whether they believe they went on it is another matter. There is certain holodeck rooms where they believe they are going to certain places when actually they're not. You got to understand the technology that we all think is the future is way in the past. Way in the past. But they've had clones for at least 50, if not 60 years. So, as Shane said in one of the shows, why would you need humans who have difficulty in space travel? Particularly going in the tin cans that we go in now, when they can use clones. You know, clones, you don't need vast volumes of water. You know, the sheer weight of carrying water for a Mars journey is limiting to a point with the current technology that they have, or they're prepared to release. There are far better methods of travel than tin cans. I can tell you that for nothing. Any updates what's going on in the Mars colony? No idea. From what I gather, those clans that are up there took a massive hit back in 14 and 15. And I don't think they're playing too well anymore. What are we doing for time? I'll answer that later. Why can't the men of World Hold and Trust pay salaries? That's in a piece later. Can Kim protect GoFundMe accounts? No. I've discovered that Brian Colfridge, who started Build the Wall account, has switched to a new charity and has Eric Prince on board. Oh my, that's the end of that money. Mr. Prince is part of, well, he's the founder of Blackwater and his mercenary, and he's not a friend to this country at all. Is a copy of the Peace Treaty Kim and the Council worked out readily available to read somewhere, or will that be made available in the near future? The Peace Treaty the original deal was signed on a kangaroo skin, because it was 16,500 years ago. As for the, I haven't seen the documents of the actual peace treaty. It's being held by the tribal people at the moment, and there was supposed to be a ceremony to officially record the end of that martial law. But until Kim and I can travel, because we will be integral to that official signing off. It's already signed over, but the tribal people like to do their ceremonies with the main people involved, and Kim and I will be part of that ceremony. You know, what we were looking at is maybe it being filmed globally, because it is important. But obviously certain restrictions and more of the cabal have to go down before that. And now we were supposed to fly to a certain region to complete the ceremony in August of 2016, but the cabal said the minute we get in the air they'll blow us out of the sky. So that's why we haven't had the ceremony as yet. What's your take on solfeggio frequencies? They work for me initially when I was doing meditation. Some frequencies are better than others. If it doesn't feel good to you, don't use it. Just because it says solfeggio, there are different frequencies that are good for some people and not for others. You know, some people it can sound all very pleasant and blissful, and some people it's like scratching your nails down a chalkboard. If it doesn't sound right, turn it off and find a frequency and a tune that does fit you. Ultimately, you can then progress from the solfeggio frequencies to go into meditation mode and do it without the music. And then you can progress again and snap into meditation mode, whether you're awake or asleep, or, well, not fully asleep, part asleep and part awake, or fully awake. You can go into the same mode of operation with your eyes and carry on with your working life or whatever you're doing and still be in meditation mode. So it's like a stages effect. Some say it's related to Nikola Tesla's work, and others say it's related to MK Ultra. Well, like I said, if that tune doesn't feel good, turn it off. That's the best guide. Any ideas why there's an increase in vitiligo around the world? No idea. Sorry. What happened to the elders? Well, some of them decided to up sticks and leave. I think Shane said there was, but Shane was is in contact with the elders. One of them was his mentor at one point, but some of them, I think the last time I checked, there was 7 of the 11 left. Whether that's gone down further, I don't know. The SSP has been up to some dastardly deeds lately and for decades. However, there have been thousands that have served with distinction, especially in Solar Warden. What's your take on them and the memory wipes they all received? In my opinion, none of the SSP has done anything useful for humanity. They were a breakaway group. They were involved with the Aldebrans. They also held hostage, and still do to this day, the Thule girls for pointers. And it was them that was involved in the California fires, and it was them that was involved in the earthquake in Alaska. And there is no evidence whatsoever that there's another SSP, which for someone who asked that question, it means Secret Space Program, has ever done anything beneficial to humanity. Neither Solar Warden, which is a name that's popped up in the last decade, generally associated with Cobra. There's no evidence of that name being valid, in my opinion. What is the news on EMPCO, electromagnetic plasma changeover event? Have you heard about this, and is it real? Well, it's probably the latest fear porn. We're all going to die. Nibiru doesn't work anymore, and ignore it. There is technology to prevent all kinds of catastrophes, no matter which one. Given this planet is heavily protected now and is beneficial for humans' habitation, then I don't think they'll be allowing certain plasma events, rogue stars, brown dwarfs, or other solar systems coming in. You got to remember, each solar system has a drive engine. So if there's something incoming, which you'll see much time ahead, you can move it.